While not exactly high cinema, there's a certain charm that comes from home movies. Something that's not just about nostalgia or a certain look, but something more personal that feels like it's lost today. With the Instax Mini Evo Cinema, Fujifilm is once again trying to recreate a look and feeling. But what does a camera like this tell us about home movies? In the past and present. I'm David, and this is the whole picture. If you were to picture a home movie camera, it would probably look something like Fuji's new Instax Mini Evo Cinema. With the grip and eyepiece, it's very reminiscent of old home movie formats, even those from Fuji themselves, like Single 8, a competitor released at the same time as Kodak's Super 8, one of the most iconic and longest-lasting amateur formats. So to get a better understanding of Fuji's new camera, as well as its place in camera history, or what home movies look like today, I think it's best to start with the history. The first amateur home movie format is often cited as 16mm, but the look that we associate with home movies can actually be traced back to the 1930s, during the Great Depression with Cine Kodak 8, or what we now often refer to as 8mm or regular 8. The economics and size of a format like this completely changed the way that films could be made at home, and gradually filming became a more casual event. Subsequent home movie formats would build off of this, adding automated features as well as easy-to-load cassettes, making filming much less technical. But more than anything, even today, these cameras change the atmosphere around the filmmaking process, and part of that is embedded in the look that we associate with home movies. The Instax Evo Cinema is trying to capture that not just with its design, but also quirks like the 15-second runtime limit. In a world where cameras all kind of look and function the same, I do kind of appreciate the sentiment behind this kind of feature, even if it is a bit superficial. Because after all, it's these kinds of ergonomics and limitations that draws me and plenty of other people to older formats. When things feel unlimited today, not just using film, limiting yourself to 25 seconds a take fundamentally changes the way that we film and the reaction from people around us. It creates an immediate and clear significance to the current moment, and I think it's a way to capture something that ends up being more authentic. Fujifilm clearly sees a market for this kind of thing, but I think products like these continue to create confusion around what terms like cinematic or the medium of film actually is. Because when you remove the look of film from these cameras, what's left isn't some kind of vague nostalgia, it's context. After all, it's not like people in the 30s or 70s were tweaking bloom or gateweave sliders in their garage, trying to dial in the perfect look of their generation. What we tend to think of as nostalgic today was once normal, the regular kind of thing that everybody was used to. It only becomes a matter of taste or style after our meaning of normal changes. Sometimes this happens with technology, like what we see with 8mm that went from a singular prime lens design to a 3-lens turret style design, and the way that our visual language around home movies changed once Super 8 gave everyone access to versatile zoom lenses. But that's just one aspect of what's behind the look of home movies. A lot of it has to do with our normal day-to-day culture. If we could go back to the 1970s and swap out a Kodachrome cartridge for a digital one, you'd probably still have a relatively similar look. This is because the surrounding elements, the clothes, the color palettes, and culture around images wouldn't instantly change. The opposite is also true. While the artifacts of film, things like dust or halation, have become shorthand for the past, simply using a film camera today doesn't instantly transport us to the past. And I know this is speaking in very generalistic terms, but if you printed a picture with the Instax Mini Evo Cinema or took a picture with a classic 1970s Polaroid, the result is kind of the same. So the difference, what actually makes an impression on us, goes beyond any kind of funky colors or even the camera itself, and has a lot more to do with how we got to that end result. Which brings up an interesting comparison. While there have been cameras in this space in the past, there aren't many competitors in the market right now, except for one very interesting option from Kodak. Their new Super 8 camera. It uses actual Super 8 film, which Kodak still makes, but the design and features change how we can use it, which makes it a much more contemporary kind of camera. In a sense, the Instax Evo Cinema is trying to do something similar, but it poses a very striking question, well, at least to me it did, about what the current look of home movies actually is, with the 2020 setting on that generation style. Since analog formats need to be standardized for everything from the production of film to the cameras or projection, it becomes a little bit easier to have a shared experience. And with hindsight, I guess you could make some generalizations about what the colors, texture, or trends of a certain generation of film could be. While digital sensors also have manufacturing standards, there are so many more applications for them today. So in this way, a camera like the Instax Mini Evo Cinema could be extremely valuable, grounding you in a more classical context that could potentially allow you to film something more personal and authentic. If only it was more concerned with substance over style, because home movies aren't about the present. Their true value might only be found 5 years, 10 years, or several generations into the future. But how long will it be before the app for this camera stops working, or the QR codes on the print leads to a broken link, and your footage is no longer accessible? This is not an isolated problem. Just because something is digital doesn't mean it's less prone to loss or damage. So the question for the archivist of the family has never been about making something feel cool or cinematic. It's about what's worth preserving. With film, even today, the context of the medium, the workflow, and economics mean you're essentially pre-editing, deciding what's important in the moment. Or, in another word, curating. Even as we move from a bespoke tool to a universal device that effectively offers unlimited high-quality video, the question is still one of curation. It's just no longer about when to press the shutter, but what's worth saving. There's always going to be an element of performance over reality, perhaps. Some things do age better than others, and generally we curate fond moments over sad ones. But in that process, if you're caught up in some kind of trend or chasing some kind of aesthetic, you might be missing the moments that are truly personal and worth preserving.